All right, we are continuing on with our video series on World War II. And today we're jumping into what's called the War in Europe. Specifically, we're going to be looking at a big event called D-Day, or the invasion of Normandy. But let's review just a little bit before we jump in. So this week, way earlier in the week, we learned about the Battle of Britain and how they're going to use radar to beat the German Air Force and the Royal Air Force. The British are going to be victorious. We learned how the United States was isolating itself, and the Soviet Union is going to get invaded by Germany because Germany wants their land. And this is going to be a big mistake because even though Germany has better technology, the Soviet Union has a lot of land and they're going to eventually win. We also then learned how the United States was helping the Soviet Union and Britain by lending them supplies called the Lend-Lease program. More like we were selling it to them. But we also learned the United States is going to enter the war because of the Japanese sneak attack on Pearl Harbor with their aircraft carriers sending planes to attack our ships. And it's going to be really bad for us. But we're going to join the war. And we also learned that when we joined the war, that there was great contributions by African American soldiers like the Tuskegee Airmen, and how that's going to be a catalyst or kind of a start and help some social change in the United States. And today we're jumping into the war in Europe. Our big focus today is on this thing called D-Day. So here's your I can statement. By the end of this lesson today, you can, so you can say it with me, I can create a written letter or poster about D-Day, the invasion of Normandy. So that's what you're going to end up doing. So say it again, I can create a written letter or poster about D-Day, the invasion of Normandy. Feeling real nice today, going to give you the option of either writing a letter or creating a poster. Your choice. So first, though, in order for you to do that, you got to learn what in the world D-Day is. So a little more background here. Now that the United States is in the war, the two sides are really set up. So the Allies with the United States, with Franklin Roosevelt as our president, Great Britain with Winston Churchill as the prime minister, and the Soviet Union with Joseph Stalin as their leader. He's really more of a dictator, but on the other side, we have the Axis with Germany with Adolf Hitler as their dictator, with Japan with Emperor Hirohito as their leader and General Hideki Tojo as their real leader, and Italy with Benito Mussolini as their dictator. So now the two sides are really set up, and the map of the war looks like this. And by the way, these are not the only people in the war. These are just like the big three for both sides. Because as you can see from this map, there's lots more people that were in the war. There's actually more than even on this map. So now that we're in this war, though, you see Germany and the Axis are in Japan here, are in this yellow-orangish color, and the Allies, who we generally consider the good guys, are in the green. So now that we were attacked by Japan, remember we were attacked by Japan over in Pearl Harbor, which is kind of like right here. And remember on these maps, because the Earth is round, like you go off this side of the map and it's kind of like Pac-Man, where you go off this side and you come up right here. So we're attacked by Japan at Pearl Harbor, but rather than attacking Japan right away, we're going to do something a little different. We're actually going to go for Germany first. And the reason is, now we still attack Japan too, but we're going to focus on Germany because we feel like they're the bigger threat. So there we are. It's called the Europe First strategy. We feel like Germany is the bigger threat than Japan, so we want to take them out first. But we don't go straight at Germany. Remember, Germany had taken over all this land using their blitzkrieg, their lightning warfare, and it's really difficult because just like Germany couldn't just go straight to Britain and attack them because of the water in between. Well, now we have the same issue now that we're on the offensive. We can't just get to them really easily. So we attacked them in North Africa first, which is right here. In fact, if you look back on the map, This is Africa, the continent. So we're going to attack Germany where they have some troops and stations here in North Africa. Right here. Because attacking Europe itself would be way too hard. And that's going to happen from the end of 1941, 1942, 1943, all while the Soviet Union, remember, because Germany invaded the Soviet Union right here, is fighting against them, pushing this way. And the Soviet Union's like, come on, guys, please invade, please help us out. And we finally do in what's called D-Day. And who's involved? Well, the Allies, the combined forces of the United States and Britain, and Canada and Australia were also involved, and there probably were even more. And this is versus Germany. What? It's an invasion into Nazi-controlled Europe. This is the largest amphibious, which means water to land, invasion in history. There's a nice fancy word for you, amphibious. So you know how like a frog is an amphibian because it goes from water to land? That's what amphibious means. When this happened, June 6th, 1944. Notice this is the United States joined after Pearl Harbor at the end of 1941. So this is a long way in. It took a while. Where it took place in a place called Normandy, which is on the shores between France and England, on the beaches of Normandy. And why? Well, we wanted to take back the land in Europe that had been taken over by the Nazis at the beginning of the war. So we want to start to attack Nazi Germany. All right, so remember, Europe is all this red is controlled by the Germans and their allies, Italy. Now, we had taken over some land in Africa down here, and we'd actually started taking over some land in Italy. But going up through Italy right here to get to Germany is a really bad idea because right here are a bunch of mountains, and mountains are really hard to get troops through, especially the tanks and the trucks and all that. So we're going to land forces right here. See these arrows? We're going to stage loads of troops in Great Britain for years, millions and millions of troops. And we actually kind of trick the Germans and make them think we're going to attack right here by setting up some decoy armies, like literally fake tanks and things like that. So their spies and stuff see that, and they think we're going to attack right here. And we're going to split our troops up into 5 groups. See, this is the England again. You can follow that on the map. This is zoomed in right here. If you look at my cursor, let's zoom in. Split our troops into 5 different groups and attack 5 different beaches right here. Let's zoom in a little bit more. And we named them 5 code words. Utah and Omaha were where the United States troops concentrated. Gold and Sword are where the British troops concentrated. And Juneau right here is where the Canadian troops concentrated. And most of it went pretty well, except for on Omaha Beach, where one of the American beaches, it was really bad because the German defense there was really strong, and a lot of our troops lost their lives. So what did this look like? This is pretty cool, because this was a huge operation. It took years to plan. Well, the night before, we're going to drop in what are called paratroopers. And you see that word para, it means it's troopers that jump from perfectly good airplanes to land behind enemy lines with their parachutes. And they're going to drop in the night before at key locations around here and fight the Germans and take control of some cities. And throughout the night, and we've been doing this for months, we're bombing a lot of important locations to try to soften up the defense. Then our troops are going to get on these big transport ships to try to go from England. Remember, we got to go from England over here to, which is France, but it's controlled by Germany because they took them over. And then from those big ships, they got to get on these smaller troop transport ships when the water starts getting more shallow. And then from that, they had to get on even smaller ships called these landing craft. And you see, this would have been where the Germans are, where my mouse is, trying to fight off the attack. And our troops got to get up all the way to shore and try not to get shot. Many of the ships couldn't even make it to the beaches, and they got stuck on some mines and some obstacles that the Germans had put out there, or just on shallow ground, and the troops had to jump out and either try to swim or walk to shore. which is really hard when you got 100 pounds or so of equipment on your back and these big backpacks some of them had to wear. All right, so there's some pictures of them, and these are real pictures, by the way, that were taken during the invasion. But while when they get to the beaches, especially on the beach called Omaha, the Germans had machine guns set up and they're just shooting down at our troops who are trying to get up to safety and attack the Germans. And by the end of the day, we had completely taken over the beaches and were able to land our troops. And by the end of the day, we had loads of troops ready to make the march into Germany. And even cooler, not just troops were landing, but they were landing on some of these transport ships. They would put tanks and trucks because you got to get supplies in there. So now that we've got a foothold, is what we call it, we've taken over part of France back from Germany. Now we can begin, the British and the Americans can begin going toward Germany this way, if you're following my mouse on the screen, while the Soviet Union could start going toward Germany this way. We kind of are going to try to put them right in the middle, and that's going to be really bad for Germany. All right, so here's what you got to do today. You need to read the Duxter's article on D-Day. It's pretty cool. It got some pictures in there as well. And you need to watch the D-Day video from Simple History that's going to be attached to this assignment. It's pretty cool as well. And then we got a task for you. And you get an option today. So you need to imagine you're a soldier that just landed on the beaches of Normandy during D-Day. Write a letter home to a friend describing what you just did. 3 things: what you just did, why you just did it, and what you think is going to happen next. 3 things. 5 complete sentences or more. And don't just say we landed. Explain yourself. Make a good explanation. You can write way more than 5 sentences. That's just a minimum. Or if you're the creative type, you can make or draw a poster about the D-Day invasion. You should use color and be creative. So if you don't have the tools right now to make the poster and use color and be creative, then go ahead and write the write the paragraph, write the letter. Either one's a pretty cool assignment. Now, if you do make the poster, well, and you're like, well, if I draw a poster out on paper in color and whatnot, how am I supposed to turn that in? Well, let me show you something pretty cool. So your assignment is going to actually look just like this, by the way. This is literally the paper you're going to get your own copy of. So if you're writing your letter, you would just start here. Dear Frank, or whoever your friend is. Dear Amy. And then I'd write, we just, and blah, 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 blah. Or if I was doing the poster, I would write it out on a piece of paper, color it, make it look nice. And then what you could do, I'm not sure if y'all know this, watch my mouse right here. You can add pictures, and I know a lot of you know how to add pictures that you found on the internet, but what you might not know is that if you click this camera tool right here, now you could take a picture of something. Let me get that. See, this is my wonderful artwork. You could take a picture of it and you click right here. It's going to snap it. And now I can insert it right into my document. So now that it's in here, you could also rearrange the size, make it bigger. Look at that. So now, if you pretend this is a beautiful poster, my assignment is done. All right, so I hope you have fun with this. Great topic today, and hope that you've learned quite a bit about all of these. So at the end of the day, you can either create a letter pretending you're a soldier that invaded Normandy, or make a poster about the D-Day invasion. Well, have fun with that.